Right then, we've taken a few deep breaths. We're back to where we need to be. It's the Warriors versus the Knights. Warriors, they welcome back Katoa. Huge boost for them. It was apparent that he was missing last week. They just lost a little bit of impact in their forwards. No discredit to the boys who came in and did the job, but when you've got Katoa missing, it is blatantly obvious in the Warriors pack. As for the Knights, Mason Lino finally gets to make a Knights appearance after being bumped way down the roster. Mann is in the 9 shirt, Lino in the 6. You've got to think that Lino's got to take his chances here. I'd have maybe even liked to have seen him in the 9 shirt, to be honest. But obviously they know what they're doing. They work with these players. He sees him as a 6, and that's where they're going to use him. And I'm expecting a big game out of him.
Yeah, this is a huge chance here, I think, for Mason Lino to really come in and try and cement that spot at least for the rest of the year. It's just a warpath right now. That's really, really bad on the injury front up there in Newcastle. But they're soldiering on. They're still going. Kurt Mann back into the 9. I do prefer that. I think, he's looked really good. He's looked really good. As a hooker, he's able to dart down the blind side a little bit quicker than I think Brayley and McCulloch were able to. Although you can't discredit what McCulloch did while he came down. It does stifle Kalen Ponga a little bit. If Mann is in the 6, that's one thing that has been pointed out not only in Supercoach but in on the actual field. So having Lino back there, it'll probably mean that Pearce is more of the playmaker. Lino's the supporter with Ponga out the back. But I think that's a good move. I believe that's the only it's the only change so far. They've got Brady Jones, Chris Randall, and Tex Hoy sitting there on the sideline just in case, with Toa needing to pass the head assessment protocol. Paul Turner probably a little bit unlucky to be dropped, if we're being completely honest. I thought he had an outstanding game for the Warriors last week, but Harris Vita comes back in after concussion protocol last week. They keep the Eels boys for another week. Jennings on the wing, Alvaro on the bench, but I don't really know how that will go, knowing that they're back in the Parramatta bubble next week. It's hard just to not go past the Knights here. I'm not going to say it's an easy week for tipping, but haven't really been challenged on these first 4 games so far. So I'm going with the Knights here on this one. The Warriors had a great comeback last week against the Dogs, ruining my chances of a 4-3. Bastards. But, credit to them. They had a fantastic second half and really pulled it back. The Knights, not at all convincing against the Cowboys, but much like we said with Parramatta, a win is a win. Last 5 times that these teams have played, and you associate these two teams with a little bit of expansive football, they've only gone over the over twice. Sorry, I can't do math. But the over in one of these games was a 45.5. It was a 24-20 win for the Warriors. These teams did play earlier in the year before the COVID lockdown. Newcastle 20-0 winners over the Warriors. The Knights have also won 3 of the past 5. And with, arguably the better record, the Knights need this one. The Knights really, really need this one to try, to cement themselves as, a potential outsider for the top 4 for that second bite of the cherry. Currently a point back on the Roosters and the Raiders, with the Roosters with a huge points differential and, a huge point booster coming up this week against the Broncos. So there's, a big-time need for the Knights to get up on this, to stay ahead of the Rabbitohs, to put some pressure on the Raiders, who we'll talk about later on. So I'm going to go with the Knights on a 6-point line. That's currently what they're at the moment. I'm going to have a dig for a first try scorer here. I haven't suggested one of these in a hot minute. Naden was the last time that I did that, and it kind of bit me in the butt. But just take note, because this is my quote-unquote value single. But I think the Warriors have struggled with containing fullbacks in recent times. Ponga didn't have a great game last week. He's going to want to come out against a pretty good fullback in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and stamp his mark on this Knights side as they run into the finals. He's going to have to take some of the responsibility with a 5'8" who really hasn't played much in the last 12 months. So Kalen Ponga at $11 for a first try scorer. That's going to be my value single of the week. I think that's a huge shout. Other honourable mentions, if you want to go digging, you have Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at $13. He always seems to play well. He is $2.63 for an anytime try scorer. I'm going to suggest that as well. That'll do it for me, though. I'm not going to try and go too crazy here. I say that as I suggest, an $11 tip. But Knights on the 6-point line, Ponga first try scorer, Roger anytime at $2.63.
Okay, so I'm going to go with a bit of an outside one here. I'm going to go Lino anytime, just because I think he's going to be more likely to back himself through the line, especially when you've got a player like Crossland on the bench who's just waiting to take his spot, as is Tex Hoy. So Lino anytime. I'm going to go Tuala anytime, and I'm going to take Knights on the line as well. That's going to be how I go for that one.
All right. So if anyone's ballsy enough, and I'll pull the multi out on you as well, Matty, because I think that's got a shout of being somewhat decent. If anyone's ballsy enough to take what I tipped, it's paying $62.50 at the moment. If you go the Ponga first try scorer, Roger anytime, 6.5, the Knights on what would be a 5.5 currently for the same game multi-feature. So I think it's worth a cheap cup of coffee. It's worth your Hungry Jack's $2 coffee. But you, Mr. Matthew, right, going with the line, which again with the same game multi would be a 5.5, Tuala and Lino. Tuala, who's currently paying $2.30, Lino at $4.50. Oh, this might be your value, mate. $14.50 on that one.
All right, okay, that's better.
So am I wrong in saying that this will be your value bet of the week, or are you gonna see how we go?
Yeah, that offers way more value than that $3 that Sportsbet kindly offered us last time.